I'd like you to imagine a toddler. When you think of kids, you probably either see something like this or this. A lot of people think of toddlers as annoying children whose only purpose is to torture us. And while right now you might think of kids as cute, tiny humans, think of a different scenario. You're on an airplane, the excitement of flying and adventure filling you. Everything is going just as planned. As you take a sip of your bottled airline water, you hear it, wailing. Not just a quick, frustrated cry, but a sound that will continue for the rest of the 3-hour duration of your flight. We've all been here before. It's coming from a toddler a few rows ahead of you. Now, this is most likely due to the fact that they have tubes in the middle of their ears that aren't yet as functional as those of adults, making it harder for them to equalize the air pressure. But to people who come in contact with this behavior who aren't scientists, this sound immediately brings to mind thoughts such as, "I dislike children," or "kids are so annoying." Unfortunately, these comments are becoming increasingly more common nowadays, and acknowledging a dislike of children has even become something seen as cool or rebellious within teenagers. It starts with children when they can't communicate through words and kick, whine, or scream instead. And to older people who come in contact with this behavior, it's the first impression of a child that anyone gets. It's the first thought they have when seeing a child, and it gives them an unfair setback when the only actions they know at this age involve screaming. Since kids can't effectively communicate through words until they're a few years old, they resort to other more noticeable behavior to convey a thought. Adults form this bias against kids, whether it be conscious or unconscious, and label them as annoyances. This perception doesn't change so that even as kids grow up, they're still seen as the people they were 5 years ago. So think about it. The 8-year-old version of me has no idea about half the problems facing the world, and yet I'm compared to this younger version of myself as if I'm the same person. Since we all learn so much about life in general in a single year, we're being judged completely incorrectly. Whether it's intentional or not, these comments that adults make about kids have a negative effect on them. Adults think that they need to treat kids in a patronizing way, thinking this is a way to suppress them into being good. Because of the numerous times you've heard comments made about children, it becomes ingrained in your mind that adults need to be pleased to just gain respect, and creates a mindset in which children walk on eggshells around adults, thinking they need to be feared. It ultimately creates a hierarchy in which adults reign over everyone simply because of their age. As we grow up, we become more and more impacted by the labels placed on us at a young age. As young adults begin to interact with adults, we feel judged, as if the slightest wrong move might send us back to being seen as a child. That's why young adults feel the need to grow up so quickly. Childhood has been portrayed as something immature, so that saying something is childish has a negative connotation. Even a couple days ago, as I was talking with my classmates, they said they hated kids. When I asked what they meant by that, they said, "Well, I don't hate kids. I just can't stand their annoying behavior. They just need to pipe down and suck it up." Young adults begin to model the behavior of adults, forming a bias against children, and ultimately growing into adults and holding this bias. In the end, if we continue to form a bias against children, we continue the cycle of young adults growing into adults and continually disliking children. We need to appreciate young people because, even though it sounds cliche, we're the ones making change and literally shaping the future. In a talk in school from an early education specialist from UNICEF, the man speaking with us said, "Children are not our future. They're the present." This completely summed up the message I'm trying to tell you. We can't expect children to wait for the time they're allowed to grow and express themselves. We need to implement more areas in society for children to make a greater impact on their community. I used to think being treated like a kid was inevitable, but then I just realized it only matters on who you interact with. And before I leave, I need to say this. It is not all adults, but it is enough that it has created a society in which we feel afraid to speak with adults, a place where we feel we need to wait for our ideas to become valid. So, to the adults listening to this, I need you to mentally check yourself every time you interact with a child. While this seems like a stretch, it's the only way we can make sure that we're equalizing all ages. And to the fellow children watching, know that your voice has every right to be heard. Even though it feels awkward at first, try to advocate for yourself. Respectfully stand up for yourself if you feel you're being treated unjustly because of your age. We need to make it known that intolerance of youth will not be tolerated by society. Thank you.